All right, let's dive into this deep dive into creating an awesome online course. You sent over this article from Site Design NOW, and it's got some pretty solid advice. It's kind of interesting because, they're an Australian company, but what they're talking about is like universal for anyone, anywhere who wants to teach online.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting how they start off with this analogy, about a bookstore.
Oh, okay.
Like, imagine walking into a bookstore and it's just chaos. Books everywhere. No organization, no nothing. They're saying that's what your course catalog can feel like if you don't set it up right.
Oh, I see. So you're saying you don't want your students to feel like they're like lost in a sea of content.
Exactly. It's all about user experience. And you have to really think about how people, actually search for things online. Think about it. If someone's brand new to photography and they want to learn, they might just type in learn photography, something super basic. But someone with more experience, they might search for a specific technique like mastering landscape composition or something like that.
So the way you set up your search function, the way you categorize everything, it all has to be based on what your ideal student is actually going to type in.
Exactly. You got to get in their heads a little bit, understand their journey from I want to learn this to boom, I found the perfect course.
Which makes me think about something else the article mentions. Keeping students engaged once they're actually in your course. That's where progress tracking comes in, right?
Totally. They talk about it being like a GPS for learning, and it makes so much sense. Like when you're on a road trip and you can see how far you've come and where you're going, it keeps you motivated.
Yeah, I totally get that. But I think progress tracking is valuable for the course creator, too, not just the student.
Absolutely. It's like having a feedback loop built right in. If you notice that a lot of students are dropping off at a particular module, that's a huge red flag telling you to maybe go back, revisit that content, make sure it's clear, maybe break it down into smaller pieces, whatever it takes.
So you're not just blindly putting content out there. You're constantly learning from how people are interacting with it.
Yeah.
And using that to make your course even better. The article also mentioned making sure your tracking tools are, in line with any learning regulations or anything like that.
Yeah, they kind of snuck that in there. But it is important to be aware of that. Different regions, different industries might have different standards when it comes to things like tracking student progress or awarding certifications.
Okay, so let's get to something I think a lot of people who are creating courses get really excited about: video lessons. This article really highlights the power of video, especially for visual learners.
For sure. Video is amazing. It's like you're bringing the energy of the classroom, right to their screens. But the article gets into the specifics too, like what makes a good video lesson, not just any video.
Oh, okay. So give us the juicy details.
Well, they talk about the importance of clear video quality, obviously, and nobody wants to squint at a blurry video. And they mention subtitles, which I think is so important, not just for accessibility, but, maybe someone's in a noisy environment or their first language is in English or whatever. Subtitles make a big difference.
Yeah, those little details really do add up to a better experience for everyone. And then they threw in this idea about what if you went all out and invested in professional video production?
Now that's how you take things to the next level. I mean, imagine beautiful visuals, maybe some cool animations, and just, professional editing that makes everything flow so smoothly, that shows your students you're serious, you're invested.
Yeah, it's like the difference between watching a home movie and a big budget documentary. The content might be similar, but the way it's presented can make a huge impact on how people perceive it.
Absolutely. And perception is everything, especially when there are so many online courses out there. You want yours to stand out.
Speaking of standing out, let's talk about something else that can really add value to your course certifications.
Oh, yeah. I love how they talked about that. It's not just a pat on the back, It's about giving students something tangible, something they can actually use.
Yeah, it's like that certificate becomes like proof that they've actually learned these skills and they've mastered the content.
Right. Think about it from their perspective. If you're trying to, level up your career or even just learn something new for yourself, having that certificate, that recognized certification, that can be huge.
But, and I think this is key, the article makes a point of saying, you got to make sure those certifications are actually aligned with what employers want. They need to actually mean something.
Totally. You don't want to be teaching stuff that's totally outdated or irrelevant to the industry.
It's about making sure your course is teaching real-world skills, and the certification is proof of that.
Yeah, relevance is everything.
Okay, so we've got a well-organized course catalog, we've got progress tracking to keep students motivated, we've got engaging video content, we've got certifications that mean something. What else is on this checklist for a successful online course?
Well, they also highlight the importance of community. Building a community around your course. They talk about having like interactive student forums, and that's really to combat that feeling of, being isolated, which can happen with online learning.
Yeah, it can be lonely sitting there at your computer working through the modules all by yourself.
Exactly. So forums give people a space to connect, ask questions, share ideas, even just chat about their experiences in the course.
It's like you're creating a little virtual world around your content.
I like that. And the article talked about, the importance of things like moderation, community guidelines, that kind of stuff.
Oh, right, because even in a virtual world, you need some rules.
Exactly. You got to make sure everyone feels safe and respected and that the conversations are, productive. And they connected that back to Australian community standards, which is just a reminder that different places have different expectations for how people should behave online.
Which makes me wonder,
Yeah.
when you picture your course, like, what kind of community do you want to build? Do you want it to be, purely focused on academic discussion? Or is there room for, more casual interactions, maybe even humor?
That's a great question. And ultimately, it's up to you, the creator. You get to set the tone and shape the community that grows around your course. It's your little world to build.
And that's a perfect place to wrap up part 1 of this deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. But there's still so much more to explore.
So we'll see you back here for part 2, where we'll dig even deeper into all these essential features and talk about how to bring your unique magic to your online course.
Thinking about those student forums, it's not just like you create the forum and then poof,
Yeah.
everyone's magically going to have amazing conversations.
Right. It takes some work to cultivate a good community.
Exactly. The article talked about, setting up community guidelines.
Oh, yeah, like ground rules so everyone knows what's expected.
Exactly. It's about, setting expectations for behavior, communication, and those guidelines might look different depending on the type of course. Like a course on political science might encourage more debate, but a course on, meditation or something might have a more like gentle, supportive tone.
Yeah. So the guidelines should match the vibe of the course itself.
Totally. And then there's the whole issue of moderation.
Oh, right. Because even with guidelines, you're going to need someone to, keep an eye on things.
Exactly. A good moderator can be such a valuable asset. They can, help facilitate discussions, answer questions, step in if things get a little heated. Just make sure everyone feels heard and respected.
It's like having a friendly guide, someone who can, steer the conversations in a positive direction.
Yeah, I like that, a friendly guide. Because really, it's all about creating a space where people feel comfortable sharing and learning from each other.
Now, let's switch gears for a bit and talk about the actual content of your course. We touched on video earlier, and this article really, hammers home how important it is to create engaging video lessons.
Yeah, and they go beyond just saying use video. They talk about how to actually make those videos good.
Oh, okay, so give me the inside scoop.
Well, they talk about things like, using animations, interactive elements, even professional video production.
Which, not everyone has the budget for.
True. But even without a Hollywood budget, you can still create great video lessons. Good lighting, clear audio, a well-structured presentation, those are the fundamentals. And just be yourself. Let your personality shine through.
Because at the end of the day, people are signing up for your course because of you and your unique perspective.
Exactly. That human connection is everything.
Okay, now remember that analogy about the chaotic bookstore?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It's a reminder that a user-friendly course catalog is so important. No one wants to feel lost and overwhelmed when they're trying to find the right course.
Right. The article talked about, using clear categories, maybe even filters based on skill level, a robust search function. It's all about making the navigation intuitive so people can find what they need.
Creating a successful online course is kind of like building a house.
Ooh, I like that. Tell me more.
Well, you need a solid foundation. Right, that's what we've been talking about, the essential features like the catalog, the progress tracking, engaging content, a thriving community, certifications that mean something. But then you get to add all those personal touches, the things that make it feel like your house.
I love that. It's those personal touches, that unique style, your voice, your passion, that really make your course special.
And speaking of special, let's talk about that magic we mentioned earlier.
Mm.
Like, what does it actually mean to bring your unique magic to your online course?
For me, it's about finding ways to infuse your personality into every part of the learning experience. Your stories, your humor, your unique way of seeing the world. It's about going beyond just delivering information and creating something that's engaging, inspiring, maybe even transformative.
I love that transformative. That's what education should be all about, right?
Absolutely. And it's amazing how much impact a well-crafted online course can have. You know, it can spark new passions, it can open up career opportunities, it can help people connect with others who share their interests.
Now let's circle back to progress tracking for a second.
Okay.
I know it might seem like purely technical at first,
Yeah.
but like we talked about before, it can be so much more than that.
It really can.
It's not just checking boxes.
Yes.
It's about understanding how people are actually engaging with your content
Right.
and using that data to make the learning experience even better.
Yeah, it's like having this feedback loop built right in. If your platform lets you see, how much time people are spending on each video, which quizzes they're struggling with, which discussions are super active, that's gold.
Yeah, you get to see how people are actually learning and use that to make your course even better.
Exactly. And that ties back into what we were saying about bringing your unique magic to the course.
Oh, how so?
Well, let's say you notice a lot of students are getting stuck on a particular concept. You could create a bonus video where you explain it in a different way, maybe using a metaphor that fits your teaching style. Or you could do a live Q&A session and address those tricky points.
It's about being responsive to what your students need. Using that data to create a more personalized and effective experience for them.
Exactly. Those personal touches make all the difference.
Speaking of personal touches, let's go back to those interactive student forums for a minute.
Ah, yes. Those vibrant little hubs of learning and connection.
We talked about, setting community guidelines and having a good moderator. But what are some other things you can do to, really make that community thrive?
One of the most important things is just to be present yourself.
So it's not just setting it up and letting it run on autopilot.
Nope. It's about showing up, participating in the discussions, answering questions, offering encouragement, just making yourself a visible part of the community.
It's like being the host of a really great party. Making sure everyone feels welcome and included.
Ooh, I like that analogy. And just like a good party host, you might need to, gently steer the conversation here and there, maybe introduce some new topics or encourage people to share their perspectives.
Because sometimes, online discussions can kind of fizzle out or get off track.
Totally. And that's where your role as the guide, the facilitator, comes in.
It's all about creating that space where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, asking questions, learning from each other.
And don't underestimate the power of just acknowledging people, saying thank you, giving a shout out to someone who shared a great insight. Those little things go a long way.
It's all about creating those positive vibes that make people want to participate. Now let's talk a little more about those certificates.
Yeah.
We talked about making sure they align with what employers want. But how do you make sure they actually hold value for your students? Make them feel like they've accomplished something.
One way is to be super transparent about what that certificate actually represents.
So it's not just slapping a logo on a piece of paper.
No, not at all. It's about clearly outlining the learning objectives, the skills being assessed, and how those skills translate to the real world.
It's almost like that certificate tells a story. The story of what the student has learned and what they can now do.
Exactly. And that story should be something potential employers want to hear.
So it's not just a piece of paper. It's a symbol of their growth, their commitment to learning and improving themselves.
I love that. It's about celebrating their achievements.
Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the more technical side of things.
Okay.
We've been talking a lot about content, community, all that. But the article also mentions the importance of choosing the right platform for your online course.
Right. Because there are so many options out there.
It can be overwhelming trying to figure out which one is the right fit for you.
It really can. And the right platform depends on so many things. Your budget, the size of your audience, the kind of content you're creating, how interactive you want it to be.
It's probably worth doing some research. Maybe even try out a few different platforms before you commit.
Yeah, definitely. And don't be afraid to ask other course creators for their recommendations. They've been there, done that. They can give you some great insights.
It's hitting me that creating a successful online course is a lot like running a marathon.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, you need to be prepared, have a solid plan, pace yourself. You're going to hit some rough patches along the way, but crossing that finish line, it's such an amazing feeling.
That's such a great analogy because it is a journey, creating an online course. And it's not always easy, but if you have the right mindset, the right tools, and a whole lot of passion, you can totally do it.
And speaking of, having the right mindset, let's talk about your target audience for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Knowing who you're creating this for is essential.
Totally. The article talks about how important it is to really understand their needs, their learning styles, even their demographics.
Yeah, because the more you know about your ideal student, the better you can tailor everything to them, the content, the way you teach, even your marketing.
It's about making them feel like you created this course just for them.
Exactly. That personalization can make a huge difference.
Now let's get back to those video lessons for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about clear audio and video quality, and this article also mentions adding visuals like images and animations.
Right. Because let's be real, no one wants to watch hours of talking heads.
Yeah, it gets boring fast.
So you got to mix things up, keep people visually engaged.
Yeah, so use images, infographics, screen recordings, maybe even some short animations to illustrate key points.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get creative and have fun with it.
Because learning should be enjoyable.
It absolutely should. And those little touches of creativity can make your course so much more memorable.
Okay, now let's circle back to those certificates one last time.
Okay.
We've talked about how they can, boost careers, signal expertise, all that.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that they can also be a huge motivator for students.
You really can.
Like earning that certificate can feel like a real achievement, like tangible proof that they did it. They mastered the material.
For sure. It's something they can be proud of, put on their resume, their LinkedIn, maybe even frame it and hang it on their wall.
Yeah, it's a symbol of their commitment to their own growth.
Exactly. And I think it's so important to celebrate those achievements, to acknowledge the hard work they put in.
Because ultimately, it's all about empowering people to learn, to grow, and to reach their full potential.
Beautifully said. And that's a perfect transition into the final part of our deep dive. We'll explore how to bring all these elements together to create an online course that's both engaging and impactful.
So stick with us. We've got more to share. Okay, so we've talked about a lot. Course catalogs, progress tracking, community building, all that good stuff.
It's been a whirlwind tour of online course essentials.
And you know what's really striking me? It's how all these pieces, they fit together. They create this whole experience for the student.
Yeah, it's not just a checklist of features. It's about weaving it all together into something cohesive, something that supports those students every step of the way.
And that brings us back to you, the course creator.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's your passion, your expertise, that's what's going to make your course stand out.
And, you don't need to be some kind of tech genius or a video editing pro to create a successful online course.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it can feel like there's this huge learning curve.
Totally. But what really matters is your willingness to share what you know, your enthusiasm, your ability to connect with people.
It's about being genuine.
Yeah.
Being yourself.
Exactly. And I think the best online courses, they feel less stuffy lectures and more like conversations.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. You want to create a space where students feel comfortable asking questions, sharing their thoughts, even disagreeing with you.
For sure. You want to encourage that curiosity, that exploration.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
We've talked about all the technical stuff, the features, the platforms, all that.
Yeah.
But there's one element that goes beyond all of that, and it's the power of storytelling.
Ooh, I like this. Tell me more.
Think about it. The courses that really stick with us, the ones we remember, they usually have a story.
That's so true. It's if you can weave a narrative through your content, it all starts to come alive.
Exactly. So maybe you share personal anecdotes that illustrate the concepts.
Or
case studies that show how it works in the real world.
Or you could even structure your whole course around a story. Take your students on a journey.
The possibilities are endless. Yeah. And storytelling just makes learning more fun, more engaging, more memorable.
Yeah, it's we're wired for stories. They grab our attention. They make us feel things. They help us understand the world.
So as you're building your online course, remember to embrace that power of storytelling. Bring your own voice, your experiences, your insights into it.
And watch as your students not only learn, but also connect, engage, and really transform themselves.
That's the magic of online education. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.